Welcome to my final Capstone presentation. My name is Lise Walker, and I am an MSW student at Renaissance University College in collaboration with the University of Waterloo. I'd like to first tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Ontario and have been working as a child protection worker for the past 12 years. I am married to a wonderful husband and have 2 beautiful children. For my creative project, I have created a personalized MSW bundle. As its container, I chose an old wooden barrel from my great-grandmother's farm. The barrel is a representation of the person I was when I entered the MSW program. It symbolizes the values and beliefs that I brought to the program, which I had acquired through my environment and past experiences. The rustic look of the barrel symbolizes the deep-rooted beliefs that were passed down to me through generations, which I had accepted to be true. The long and previously empty barrel demonstrated my capacity for growth and willingness to learn. Its rough edges represent the struggles I experienced throughout the program, and its antique appearance symbolizes the resilience and adaptability required to complete the program. Its contents are a representation of my learnings throughout the MSW program. Each article that I chose to include has a significance and represents a personal learning that I will continue to integrate into my practice after the completion of the MSW program. The learnings that I have chosen to include in my MSW bundle are anti-oppressive framework, strength-based approach, self-care, and Canada's historical treatment of Indigenous people and the continued discrimination against them. Throughout the program, I have reflected upon my own prejudiced beliefs and attitudes and automatic preferences. My greatest learning about anti-oppression practice was during the Diversity in Health course, when I realized that it is only by acknowledging the differences, the effects of biases, and the unequal distributions of social determinants of health that I can begin to work towards creating equality and change. I chose the Drapeau franco-ontarien as a representation of this learning. Language is an important determinant of health that must be accommodated when working with individuals. The flag represents my French-Canadian culture and a unification against years of prejudices and discrimination. I've learned that my own cultural beliefs, values, and behaviors may impact my work with clients. I now recognize the need to critically reflect upon my beliefs and their possible impact. The flag is a reminder to practice from an anti-oppressive lens, to be mindful of power imbalances, and to promote equity while working towards addressing socioeconomic oppression. It is also a reminder to recognize the impact of social and economic systems as part of the problem, and to refrain from blaming the individual. For me, the flag represents the core social work value, the pursuit of social justice. It is a reflection of my continued commitment to advocate for equal treatment and to challenge injustices. I have learned that my role as a social worker includes incorporating a holistic and strength-based approach when working with clients to enhance their capability to meet their full potential. The strength-based approach works collaboratively with individuals while recognizing that they are experts in their own lives. The language used in this approach is key. It must be empowering and hopeful while focusing on goals and dreams. It must focus on the solution and not the problem. A person is not defined by their illness or disability. It is not the sole focus. Labels are avoided, and a person-centered planning approach is used. The flower statue that I chose represents strength and perseverance, as it was created by my daughter, a dyslexic learner, who I have watched continue to persevere within the education system despite her many struggles. It also represents individual strengths, in her case, creativity, imagination, and being artistic. It is a reminder that all persons possess resources, strengths, and are valuable. The flower is also a representation of the social work value, respect for inherent dignity and worth of persons. It is a reflection of my commitment to use respectful language, and as per the value, to respect my client's right to make choices based on voluntary informed consent. Similarly, my daughter could have been defined by her diagnosis, but instead we have chosen to build upon and enhance her already established strengths. Self-care is comprised of strategies that are regularly used to manage stress, to be able to maintain your well-being. Although I recognize its importance and am aware of the possible negative impacts if not implemented, self-care seems to be the tool that I easily set aside. Initially, I believed that I had a self-care plan to implement for the duration of the MSW program. However, there were times when I had to reevaluate and adjust my plan. Self-care is directly linked to my health and wellness, and therefore I chose a picture of when I completed the mud run as its representation. Unknowingly, shortly after beginning the program, my husband, in plan for greatest support, was transferred to the 3 to 11 shift, basically leaving me as the sole caregiver of our children during the week. At the same time, my new collective agreement now required that I select shifts in the after-hours program, which previously had been optional. Therefore, I found myself trying to navigate and survive the demands of being the sole caregiver during the week, working beyond full-time hours, and attending school part-time, which I quickly learned was unmanageable. I therefore reached out to my parents, who graciously offered to pick up my children every day after school, help them complete their homework, and feed them supper. In doing so, I realized that I previously had a very narrow view of self-care and had believed that it solely relied on individual activities. Self-care should be a holistic approach, including the physical, emotional, and spiritual. Similarly, an assessment of client strengths and resources should include both internal and external factors, such as positive relationships. Plans should be continuously reassessed and adjusted as needed, and should address the whole person, therefore utilizing a holistic approach. Although the Social Work Code of Ethics and Core Values do not speak of self-care, I have realized that it is a requirement to follow the value competence in professional practice. In order to be able to provide the highest quality of service possible to my clients, I must ensure my well-being and be aware of any impairments that may put my clients at greater risk of harm. Therefore, my MSW bundle will act as a reminder of the importance of incorporating self-care into my practice. My learnings also included discovering the extent of Canada's historical treatment of Indigenous people and the continued discrimination against them. Within Canada, there continues to exist structural and government policies that promote the unequal distribution of resources, poverty, systemic discrimination, and the lack of culturally appropriate services which target Indigenous needs. I have chosen a Dreamcatcher to represent this learning. The Dreamcatcher itself is a stereotype, as it is used to represent Indigenous cultures as though they're all the same, when in fact they are not. It is also a representation of cultural appropriation, a piece of culture taken from a minority group and used by the dominant group. The Dreamcatcher will also be a reminder of my commitment to follow the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's call to action. A social issue currently faced by Indigenous people is the overrepresentation of Indigenous children in the care of child welfare. As a child protection worker, I have committed myself to be educated and trained on the impact of the residential schools in Canada. I have read and familiarized myself with Jordan's Principle, the Brian Sinclair Inquest, the Caitlin Sansom Inquest, and the practice guide, The Other Side of the Door. I am now able to recognize the importance of culturally appropriate services that meet the specific needs of Indigenous people, and the need for Indigenous families to remain together when safe to do so. To respect diversity is part of the core value, respect for inherent dignity and worth of persons. Therefore, the Dreamcatcher will be a reminder to incorporate cultural competence within my practice. Finally, my MSW bundle will remain in my home by my front door, where I will see it prior to leaving in the morning and when returning in the evening. My home is a quiet space with minimal distractions, where in the morning I can take the time to reflect upon my bundle and how to incorporate its contents, my learnings, into my everyday practice. In the evening, I will take a moment to reflect upon my day and visualize myself returning the learnings to the barrel as a symbol of ending my workday. Therefore, my MSW barrel will also be incorporated into my self-care plan and will act as a visual reminder of the importance of work and life separation as I enter my family space. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I look forward to embarking in my new journey as an MSW graduate.